if you remember, a couple of years ago, the song Baby It's Cold Outside kind of became this weird culture war touchstone where people were debating whether the lyrics of the song were coercive. It felt like one of those moments to me personally where I was like, we've reached parody level when it comes to culture war issues. Well, it's apparently not parody, and it's apparently still very much a relevant talking point because they hate the song so much that they've made a woke consent-related remix by John Legend and Kelly Clarkson, just so that you can understand that, she's not being coerced in this song.
So I found out the updated lyrics to John Legend and Kelly Clarkson's version of Baby It's Cold Outside are so funny. They're like, just so everyone listening knows, they are both consenting adults in this song. And that's because all of these idiots were saying Baby It's Cold Outside promotes rape culture. And it's actually a song about a woman getting date raped and getting roofied. That is obviously just another instance of the war on Christmas.
It really is. Before we get into it, so I was reading about the war on Christmas. And while I'm reading this long article from Slate or wherever it was from, and they're going back to the liberal and the conservatives going back and forth on this topic over the years, you really do realize that what we're doing here is absolutely nothing new.
There's nothing new under the sun.
No, these types of culture war issues have been going on since long before we were around, right? They're talking about this like right after 9/11 and the war on Christmas. And I'm just like, it actually made me feel kind of tired, if I'm being honest. It did. Like, ugh.
Well, the song White Christmas also got a lot of backlash because people assumed that it was a song about white supremacy. And similarly, Baby It's Cold Outside is a Christmas classic. And they had to trash it. They hate fun. They hate joy.
I despise the fact that they are allowed to say that the song White Christmas is about white supremacy and not be called ridiculous.
Well, we can call them ridiculous right here. So John Legend, as you know, the sexiest man of the year.
Yes.
The most unthreatening man of the year. He decided to rewrite all of these lyrics so that the male responses are affirming the woman's self-determination and her ability to consent or not consent to staying over. So here are some of the lyrics. She says, "I really can't stay." And he says, "I'll call the car and tell him to hurry."
You know what this proves? It proves what it really is. Because in the original, there's no cab to get them, right? So maybe what this is a pro-Uber song more than anything.
Probably.
Is what they're saying is the Uber is more reliable than the cabs in bad weather. That's what I think it is.
Yeah. So she then says maybe just a half a drink more. And he said, "Oh, we're both adults, so who's keeping score?" And then she says, "If I have one more drink," he says, "it's your body and your choice." Yes, a Christmas carol saying your body, your choice.
The reason celebrities
so wholesome.
The reason celebrities are paid so much is because they are paid to say that line without vomiting in their own mouth. They are.
And then finally, it looks like he's basically kicking her out of his house.
Because, you know, this is the thing. What they're proving here is feminism never worked. That even in this moment, men are superior and she can't make her own decisions. So he has to make the decision for her. He has to kick her out because she can't consent because she's a woman.
Everyone knows that in the original song, the woman is being coy. She is pretending that she wants to leave. She is...
Because society will judge her if she stays.
Right. Or she's dropping the handkerchief so that he can pick it up and invite her to stay. That is obviously, if you are a human being who has any real world experience, you would know that that interpretation of the song is correct and that he is not a rapist. So some people have interpreted the original lyric, "Say what's in this drink," to mean it is a reference to date rape drugs, that he roofied her. But there's another explanation. This is a well-used phrase that was common in movies of the time period. and it generally referred to someone saying or doing something they thought they wouldn't in normal circumstances, a nod to the idea that alcohol is quote unquote making them do something unusual.
It is interesting how time allows culture to shift the meaning of things, right? So as the phrase dies away and is no longer popular, critical theorists can then, get in there and really put their own interpretation on it, because there's nobody around that remembers that phrase being used the way that it was. So when this comes up in polite discussion amongst people who aren't history majors or weren't alive during that time period, they're not going to know that that was true. So they're just going to assume that whatever this person who is asserting that it was actually about getting date raped, they're just like, oh, it must be true, because there's nobody to tell them otherwise that actually lived through it.
This song was written in 1944, and now everyone who didn't live through that time period seems to believe that all of the stay-at-home wives were just beaten mercilessly by their husbands, and they were addicted to drugs, and all of their kids were closeted and they were gay because of discrimination, and it was just living in the 50s was just hell on earth. But the reality is not so interesting.
I also love this weird dichotomy. Like, this is bad, but MILF Manor's totally okay. MILF Manor, good.
Right. We live in a schizophrenic culture.
Yeah. The other thing is, the funnier version of this is he just kicks her ass out and makes her wait in the cold. That is the male feminist thing to do here.
That would be an actually funny way to parody the song.
For the sake of her independence, which makes no sense because he's making the decision for her. He's like, look, you're a woman. You wouldn't be able to consent to something like this. Are you saying that women can drink alcohol and make their own decisions? That's insane. And he just boots her ass out and says, sit outside and wait for the cab.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, wait for the Uber Black.
I'm still in disbelief that John Legend was voted Sexiest Man of the Year, but it's because they're pushing this idea on women that male feminists are really the guys you should be dating. Not that these are the men you should not trust. If any man has an agenda that he's trying to portray himself as non-threatening and harmless, it's probably because he's a dangerous person to be around.
He's very threatening and he's very harmful.
And of course, John Legend is getting praised for rewriting Baby It's Cold Outside as a male feminist in pop culture. So here is the About section on Genius. It says, the song differs from Frank Lesser's original version in which the male pressures the female to stay the night. In the new modernized lyrics, written with the help of Natasha Rothwell, the male is understanding and respectful of the female's decision and calls her a cab, though she ultimately decides to not leave.
I'm calling BS. He called her an Uber. He did not call her a cab.
Nobody calls cabs in 2023.
He called her an Uber. That's what he did. And remember when Aziz Ansari got in trouble for his bad date and then called her an Uber? Maybe it's the same situation, right? He has the bad date and then he calls her an Uber when
that was his idea of being a gentleman.
Of being a gentleman, right? So all of this is patently insane, and it shows you just how unserious. When these people tell you that this is all in your head and that this stuff isn't happening, take lesson from examples like this. It's happening in society. It's happening every day. I have to remind myself sometimes that it's happening because I tend to be highly critical of my own thought process, and I don't want to feel like I'm falling into an echo chamber as far as my beliefs. It's kind of like when and we're going to talk more about Saturday Night Live later, when you look at the Levi Woke skit and you realize that this thing that they made fun of in 2017 is the real world now. It is. It's the world we live in. And Christmas is a particular example. Like, what's our voting at right now? So 78% say that, yes, there is a war on Christmas going on. Yeah. But it's not just this example, right? We've also got, so like you said, schizophrenic culture. Schizophrenic culture, because there's also the Ariana Grande song.
Right. Ariana Grande had this Christmas song called Santa Tell Me, and she decided to re-release it under a different name, Santa Tell Me Naughty Version. It just seems like a marketing ploy to get people to stream it again.
Yep.
She changed totally two lyrics of the song. She changed it from, what was it? The original version said, I want to have him beside me on the 25th by the fireplace. And she changed it to, I want to let him unwrap me, get on top of him by that fireplace. So those were the total of the changes she made.
Well, here's the problem. What if she had a drink, Mary? What if she had a drink? Is she allowed to do that now? Because according to John Legend, he should say, whoa, I'm going to call you a cab even though you live here, and I'm going to send you back to your room. Because you're a woman and you can't handle alcohol, you must be treated like a child, according to John Legend.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the truth. But it's not just that coarsening the culture. We also have Lifetime with the first ever Christmas movie sex scene.
Yes, this is
a cowboy Christmas romance. I'm not making that up.
At least it's on Lifetime and not Hallmark. I mean, obviously, this would never happen on Great American Family. Obviously, but
Candace Cameron Bure would never let it.
Why is this necessary? And you know that and the Olivia Wilde movie where she like Santa is a witness in her divorce hearing.
That at least feels like a horrible modern version of what used to be like Bad Santa is still a great movie, even though it's objectively degenerate in many ways, right? So it's like that at least feels a little bit more on par with what the humor was at one point, even though it's a stupid idea to make a movie about Santa being a witness in a divorce trial.
Okay, Santa Inc. also happened.
Santa Inc. is one of the worst examples, right? But that's an overt example where it was so bad that people actually made a point to call it out. I didn't see anybody else really mention the Olivia Wilde one because there's no real info on it yet. Other than the stuff that we talked about. So Lifetime is, they're making Christmas movies on an annual basis, much like the Hallmark Channel does. But they're going to include a sex scene in a movie called A Cowboy Christmas Romance starring Jana Kramer, who seems to be a mainstay at the network. And they said that they're looking to add some spice to the holiday and what do they say? To the sugar and to, wait, what is it? Sizzle to the sugar and spice.
This is stupid.
Yeah, you can't win. You can't win.
Yeah.
It's bad times.
I mean, never has there been a time in history when women complain more about being objectified while they objectify themselves. And never has there been a time in history where women complain more about their autonomy being violated when they continuously deny that they're capable of making their own decisions.
They're like, look, I'm autonomous
this is what
unless
I mean.
I've had a drink and I'm stranded at someone's house.
This is what I mean when I say it's a schizophrenic culture.
Yep.
So, I mean, really the war on Christmas, what it refers to is the culture being sanitized of the real meaning of Christmas. And that...
What about sanitized?
That process is well underway.
Yes. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.